on this computer. Welcome, Paul Jacobs. I'm so excited to have you.
Pleasure, Lillian.
Yay! It is an honor and a privilege just talking to you a little bit before. You have so much amazing knowledge and passion. First and foremost, passion. You've been...
Passion and joy. You've got to enjoy what you do. Gordon Dickinson always said, once the joy goes out of it, call it a day.
I love it. And it's so true. You've been doing this for 30 years. Is that correct?
Yes, 30 years. Makes me feel old.
You look really good. You do. And we were just talking about that. We were talking about many things. But I am very, very excited to have you in this group because within this group, there's people from all around the world. And I really, after I approached you and started learning about you, got really intrigued with you. I was like, how come I didn't know of him before this moment? So I'm happy so that other people can begin to be intrigued by your work, what you do. You travel. You are a man of many hats. You do many things. And one of the things that we were talking about was, we were talking about a couple things, right, Paul? But
yes.
Getting past the nose was one of them.
I always say, actually, a good medium is not one that only gets yeses, because I don't know a medium who does only get yeses. A good medium is somebody who doesn't allow a no to affect them, but also knows how to deal with the no's and what causes the no's.
Absolutely. And just really paying attention, right, to everything going on in the spirit world while you're connecting and honoring that.
That's right. Because what we've got to remember, I always say to the students, receiving the information, that's the easy part. Me and no other teacher can do anything for you to put the information there. That's between you and the spirit world. What we can teach you is to understand what you're receiving, how to work with it, and how to present that communication. And this is why we need the yeses and nos, and the nos are just as important. I will actually sometimes say to a recipient, if they're hesitating with a yes or no, I'll say, just say no to me, then and I can work.
Just to move on. Just to keep
going. Gordon Dickinson always said, if you allow a no to affect you, it will be the thing that will shut the door immediately. So you can't allow a no to affect you, but that doesn't mean that you can throw away not dealing with a no. You must deal with the no, know when to and when not to, but also all the different reasons what causes a no. There are many reasons what causes a no. So when I'm working, if I get a no, I always still trust what I've received. I'll be like a dog with a bone. I will trust what I receive. I might have to accept that my mind's interfered with it and with what I've received and done the wrong thing. That doesn't mean I can't change it. I can change it into something else. I still have to stay with what I've received, Say for instance, say the spirit world has showed me clairvoyantly a fire engine, and my mind has automatically jumped to the wrong conclusion. I've got somebody who was a fireman, where it was somebody who was rescued by a fire engine. So my mind has presumed and guessed instead of unfolding the correct interpretation. That's just one small example. There's many reasons.
But I think that's something that's really missed.
That's
you
right.
Get to know, you let it go. Now you haven't really honored the spirit world because they're giving you something they wanted to express, but you let it go. So they're like, well, maybe I'm not doing a good job at giving the medium the information.
I'll give you this one little story. I can remember I was working in Denmark, and I went direct to this very young lady in the audience, and I said, I have your father here. I said, and your father worked as a fireman? And she says, no. I said, are you quite sure? And she says, yes. And I said, well, I'm sure it's your father. And he said he worked as a fireman. She says, no, he's not my father. So I tried to place him elsewhere. Nobody could take him. I went back to her again. I said, are you quite sure? She says, yes. I said, well, I'm going to stay with you. I know it's your dad. I says, your father left home when you was a small child. Yes. Your father went to live in another country. Yes. I said, are you sure he didn't work as a fireman? She says, oh, yes, I'm quite sure. She says, but he was in the voluntary fire service. But I wouldn't. I had to try. I wouldn't let the fire engine go. I mean, she had the right to say no. I mean, she was
Right.
new to the first time because I said his work. She thought I meant it was his profession, and it wasn't. It wasn't his main profession. He was just in the voluntary fire service.
But that's the thing. That's a good point, Paul, right? Because like you said earlier, the sitter doesn't know the difference even between psychic and medium. They don't understand.
That's right. You know, and you've got to be careful. I say to my students, be careful of the choice of your words, because the recipient can only reply to you, their yes and no, on the words that have come out of your mouth. And their understanding of your words may be different to your understanding of the words you're using. And we have to watch that a little bit with the different culture things as well, because we have understanding of words. I've got myself into trouble in the US on a few times with getting confused with the words suspenders and braces.
Well, for me, I speak Spanish, but
Yes.
I'm Puerto Rican. But when I speak Spanish in the Mexican language, some of the words are very different. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I didn't mean that. So I understand.
That's right. So, but you know, yeah, we've got to learn the difference between the psychic and mediumistic. Both aspects are important. And the trouble is, because we live in a physical world, we want everything measured in fixed physical compartments, and we can't do that with the spirit, you see. So with a psychic and mediumistic, we can't really have them as two total separate things because they're part of each other. But we've got to understand on what level certain information is we're working on. We've got to realise the mediumship works through the psychic faculty. So, you know, all of us, especially when we're doing private consultations, even when we've got a good communicator from the spirit world, we're sitting so much in the energy field of our sitter, and our mediumship's working through our psychic faculty, so that's open and operating. So we're going to pick up things psychically as well as. So, you know, I always say to my sitters and clients, you know, I do not profess everything I'm giving you is coming from the spirit world.
Mm.
If I'm working with one of your people and I'm aware of something psychically, I will tell you I'm getting it psychically.
Wow. And I think knowing the difference, right? Because when you're connecting with the spirit world, you're in your mediumship space is what I call it. Sometimes you can drop, right? Like you said, and go psychic. And if that's the case, that's okay. But don't say the spirit world. Kind of know the difference.
That's right. Well, I'm going to be honest with this, and some mediums and other teachers might think I'm wrong in saying this because they probably wouldn't admit what I'm going to say. There are times when I do begin a reading, and I'm aware of some information, and I'll be truthful, I don't know whether I've got it psychically or mediumistically.
Mm.
But what I do is I'm honest with my client. So I might say, I'm aware that somebody's doing carpentry. I'm not too sure at the moment whether this is a man in the spirit world or it's you. And I'm honest about it. And if they say it's me, then I'll say it's psychically. And they'll say, no, we do know somebody in the spirit world. I'll say, right, then let's go with it and see what else they bring about themselves. So there are times no medium, I can honestly say, could say that they know 100% all the time that everybody is coming on that particular level. I like to know as often as I can, but I first admit I cannot tell the difference 100% of the time with all the information.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've got to speak honestly about this, because what it is, if we're not honest as the teachers, then we're leading the students into a false illusion, and that doesn't do the student any good, because they might go away then thinking they've got to know 100% of the time the difference between the two with every piece of information, and that's not fair to the student, because they think we can and we can't every time. Mm-hmm. And I deny anyone who says they can, to be honest.
Absolutely. You're 110% correct. Another one is when two souls are coming in. A lot of how come what am I doing wrong? Why didn't I know that there was two? I didn't know until the sitter told me, you know?
Yep.
And I don't think, would you think that's another subject where we can't 100% of the time know?
No, yes, but if they deal with the yeses and nos, yeah, and the recipient is replying properly, okay, then they would find out the difference. There is two. Okay. What it is, when they're doing their training, you have to forgive me for this, fellow students, is that when you're working with each other as students together in exercises, as the medium is working, the student sitter is too helpful. So when they're the medium's giving information that's fitting another communicator, they still keep saying yes. Instead of saying no. Then it's up to the medium to find out then, is it another communicator? But they keep being too helpful to each other. You know, sometimes when I do feedback of students and I do it thoroughly, I find out the sitter's told the medium more than the medium's told the sitter. And you'll find this with students a lot. They try to be too nice, too helpful to each other, and it doesn't do them any good. You know, I mean, in my training, we didn't get any sort of don't knows, can't remembers, maybes. It was simply, it had to be yes or no. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you said, but also what's happening, which we didn't seem to have. When I do feedback with students on when they've done one-to-ones, and they'll say, "Oh yes, they were 100% correct, but it was two communicators," and I'll say. It was both grandmas. I said, "Are you quite sure?" "Oh yes, half fitted one and half fitted the other." I said, "It's because it was so generic that half fitted one and half fitted the other." I said, "When we were students, we never got this happening." You know,
because it was a yes or a no. So either it went or it didn't.
If they're speaking about one grandma, it's yes, 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 and then it's no, no. Or if it's another grandma, they should just say no to the medium. And then it's the medium to find out whether it's the second grandma coming in or not. Or they were just purely wrong, you know. And unless we start being more honest, and this is where I know some people, and I know it goes about that I'm supposed to be hard. I'm not hard. I'm just honest, and I'm straight down the line. If we don't start being honest about these things we've spoken about already, then we're not going to improve the standard of mediumship. And I'll be honest with you, you know, I get so disappointed. I've been to 2 demonstrations recently. I was in the audiences, and I came away so disappointed. I mean, I must have listened to 16 contacts in those 2 demonstrations, and I can honestly say I don't feel there was one that I would say was really proven or evidential.
So expand on your view of what generic evidence is, Paul, because I think that exists a lot.
I think there's many different types of evidence, and we can't put a rigid box on it. You know, I always say to the spirit world, bring me whatever evidence you want to bring, and that is needed. But I think we can put it into 2 categories, though. There's what we call the emotional evidence, and then there's what we call the practical evidence. So like in the practical evidence, I'll be speaking about saying what the communicator's work was, their hobbies, their interests, objects of exchange, specific places of memories and gestures that they've done. But then there's that more emotional evidence of how that relationship was lived and shared between the communicator and the recipient. You'll find that's missing in a lot of contacts. It's something I've been working on with the students, and I should be doing in the seminar. You know, when we're working with the clairsentience and the feeling with the communicator, which a lot of students work with, but we stay in the same generic character and personality. They were a kind person, they were a nice person, you know, they were a family person, and all this sort of thing. But, you know, what was the nitty-gritty of how that relationship was exchanged, you know? So if your dad was in the spirit world and I touched your emotions in the information of the way your dad shared his relationship with you and you shared your relationship with him, that would touch your soul and make a difference to you. So there's the 2 categories of evidence, but we can't put it that you've got to give that evidence. I mean, today there's it's a long time ago there was this CERT methods, okay, which works, it's good, but it's become even more rigid. Okay, I've changed it, which I take too long to go into detail with it. Okay, where even in the teaching, even within the spiritualist movement, in their training of mediums for the qualifications, they're teaching them what evidence they've got to give and what order they've got to give it in. How restricting to the spirit, and also how boring.
Because for me, and I, if that communicator didn't have that personality to express themselves that way, you're saying, and this is Lillian's opinion, that I only want a communicator that can give me these things.
Yeah.
You know, they might not, like you said earlier, we don't choose how they use our clairs. We don't choose how they give us the information. They come in and they do that, and then from there we can organize as mediums and do what we need to do.
So what I try to do, or put out to the spirit world to do in a contact, is to give me a certain amount of the emotional evidence and a certain amount of practical evidence. They decide which one they're going to bring first, and then I follow through with the second. Yeah, so they bring it in what order, but I'll leave it to the spirit world to decide what type of emotional evidence, and I'll leave the spirit world to decide what practical evidence.
Got it. Makes sense.
But if you have a contact that contains both elements, emotional evidence and practical evidence, then you've got more chance of meeting the need of the spirit communicator and the recipient. Because some people need more emotional evidence, other people need a more practical evidence. So if you've got both aspects in a contact, then you've got more chance of success, and the recipient and the spirit communicator feeling fulfilled and satisfied with that exchange.
Of meeting the need, like you said earlier.
That's what we've got to do. I'm probably going to upset some apple carts now with what I'm going to say, but that's me.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of people who are trained to start off by giving the physical description of the spirit person. And I see students get more in a mess beginning a contact with this general complicated physical description and then throwing it out to an audience. And when I hear that a contact begun like that, I just switch off and go to sleep.
You don't want to have no part of it.
Because one, what you got to think of, when you're giving these like heights and weights and ages, you're guessing. Unless you're hearing it clairaudiently, I'm saying I'm 6 foot tall, I'm 12 stone, and I'm 73 years of age. If you're hearing it, then fine, I don't have a problem. But if you're just going from a feeling or a vision within your mind, you're guessing at it.
And you could throw the whole reading off. You could throw the whole reading off by a height or...
That's right. So what I say to students, if it's your thing to give physical description, I'm not saying it's wrong to give physical description, but wait till you've got your contact established. But to begin your contact to get to your recipient, unless there's something unusual. So I always say to students, with me, it would make no difference to my mediumship if I never saw another person from the spirit world. If I do see somebody from the spirit world, I look to see if they're wearing anything, holding anything, or in a scene that will tell me their work, their hobbies, their interests. Or I'll have a look to see if there's anything unusual about the physical. They've got 2 noses, three eyes, something like that. But if there's only a general thing, I will not begin. And I think what it is sometimes with students is that, and even working mediums, is that they have a need or a desire to see somebody from the spirit world. Mm-hmm. And I actually believe there's a lot of times then this image that comes is their own creation because of their need and desire. And then you've got a problem. I was saying to my students recently, if my grandfather came now to communicate with you, the evidence I would really expect him to bring and love to bring you wouldn't give me a grandfather that was 78 years of age. You'd probably give him as a friend who passed in his 20s, because the most important evidence for me, what he could give you, he would have to show you of something of when he was in his 20s. Mm-hmm. So you'll have got it all wrong to start with.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. So I'm always very careful. Again, please don't go away and say, I'm saying it's wrong to give those things. I'm not.
No, you've made that clear. That's your view and your opinion and your teaching.
But if you begin your contact with that sort of thing, you can easily make a mistake and get in a mess. You know.
And I can see that. And I don't use ages. Normally, I don't like to say the height because I don't feel I never felt really solid about it, because
you're proving it, then you're guessing. Yeah. You know, so it's like now, if I said to people, if they didn't know what my age, how old I am, and so what if I said to students, how old am I, it would vary by 10 years. So I'm 60, so some would say I'm 70. Some of my family would say no if I was coming back from the spirit world. Yeah. Or some might think I'm younger and say 50. And they'd say no, he was older than that. And even with like young, middle age and old. I mean, as we all get older, what middle age and old is extends. I can remember having an 18-year-old student, and he was a beginner just starting. I was helping him make his contact. And I said to him, do you feel you've got a young communicator coming from the spirit world, a middle age, elderly? And he says, oh, definitely elderly. So I said, what do you call elderly? He said 30. So to an 18-year-old, 30 years old. So I think we've got, I'd have no problem giving an age if I heard it clairaudiently. Then fine, because you've got to be right.
I like that. Hear that, students. Hear that. Very smart. I like that a lot. If you're hearing it, it's clear. It's you're getting that, directly. You're not, I feel, maybe, I want to say. You're not feeling that doubt. You're more confident. I got it. It's solid. Let me bring it forward.
This is my mommy's soapbox. I mean, it's the same with clairaudience. There's a lot of mediums claiming to be clairaudient, and I'm saying, well, if you're really clairaudient, you shouldn't get a no, because you've either heard it or you haven't. The spirit world aren't going to tell you something that's wrong. Sure. So if you've got a no, you couldn't have heard it, And then sometimes when they profess the clairaudience, I said, well, why do they give you such trivial information then? If you're hearing it, they should be giving you some really more specific information. And then when they have like with names, it's like it's either a Jim or a John or a Jeffrey. Well, if you're hearing it, the spirit world aren't going to give you 3 names to choose from. It's either one or the other.
That's true. And it depends. And and you're bringing up such great points. My goodness, I love it. It depends obviously what clair we get, because like I said earlier, when we're getting, let's say somebody gets a J, well, to commit to the spirit world. All right, that's give me some, expand with that. Let me take that image and let me go on that journey with the image, as you stated, which is interesting, because I feel like that's another point where students get stuck. If they're clairvoyant, they're going in their mind and they're guessing, or they're bringing it from their logical mind, or what I call mind, instead of staying with the image.
But with this clairvoyant, I'm strong clairvoyant. But where students go wrong, they do what you say, they stay in their head, in their mind with it. So what I say to my students, when you receive that clairvoyant image, look at the simplicity and the obvious in the image, first of all, then swallow it and digest it back down into your soul to what the actual evidence is. Don't guess and presume.
I got the chills. Wow, that's deep. Take it to the soul.
Yeah, that's right. And then you've got to digest it within the soul through that. See, this is why, again, you can't separate your clairsentience, your clairvoyance, clairaudience. Again, they're all part of each other. And you know, this clairsentience is not just for feeling and blending and getting the character and the personality. You through that clairsentience, you unfold the evidence of your clairvoyant imagery. So if I get a no with my clairvoyant imagery, I trust what I've seen, but then I have to accept my mind has guessed or presumed wrongly. So I stay with my picture, and then I digest it back within my soul and feel into it. What is this evidence? What is you trying to say? What's the story behind what you're showing me?
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. Now that leads us.
I'm quite passionate about it. I get all kinds of.
Well, you know, because I'm all for the students growing, and whenever I have an opportunity to bring brilliant people like you on, which is something that I want to do on Fridays for the group and for the mediumship world to know all of you beautiful souls that are teaching, that have been doing this for so long with different philosophies, right? I think of the positions of my students where they get stuck or it's a little difficult to get past. And the information that I get from you guys is amazing. And I teach, but I mean, I have only been doing it for such a short period of time. And to really hear what you have to say, it is very valuable, because you have dealt with so many more students and you have been on this journey so much longer. It also gives me a great feeling to know that I do genuinely care. And as a teacher, I'm not afraid to say, hey, Paul, what do you think about this? Because I'm not sure. Or I could use a view on that.
That's right. And if you care, you also, that means you've got to be honest with the students. And sometimes that means saying sometimes things that they're not happy to hear. But if we care, we've got to be honest. Yeah. There's too many tell the students everything they do is wonderful and beautiful and lovely, and that's being dishonest, and it's not fair to the student. You know, it's like I'll have students come to me and they do something, and I'll say, look, this isn't good. Yes, but the last teacher told me it was, and I said, well, you know, and then they think I'm being horrible, and I said, look, it's not good. It wasn't right to be told that what you're doing is good. You know, and then I tried to explain and show them why it wasn't and how it could have been. You know, you know, we've got to have this passion. We've got to be this honest, and I'm going to be a bit awful here. You know, I'm a professional medium. It's my living. I have to earn a living or wherever. But you know, I think there's too many, because trying to grab students by being by being nice and saying all these sweet and nice things to them, just to get the students to like them and book their courses. I'm sorry, I mean, if I'm blunt, but I'm not into that.
But it makes sense, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be very honest right now. In the beginning of me mentoring people, Paul, my kindness was present, my heart was present. So whenever my student would say, well, you know, what am I doing wrong? Or you know, any fear will kick in. I'm like, don't worry about it. It's okay. Those are the first words so I was doing what you are saying. I was doing that because I didn't want them to be turned off by mediumship, right? And I wasn't telling them, hey, you're doing something right. But my automatic reaction from me caring about the student, I was saying, everything's going to be all right. You know, we'll come back again and we'll revisit this. But after a while, you start to see that you give them false hope, and you make them feel that they're more far along than what they might think they are, because you're not saying, this is what we truly genuinely need to work on. These are your strengths, and this is something you can expand on, and we're always going to be learning.
That's right. I mean, I just run a week at the Art of Inner College, and one of my tutors was working for me was Andy Bing. So some of his students had got a demonstration to do, and I had to be the tutor to assess them on the demonstration. And the first thing I said to them was, what I'm pleased about is that I can see you are trying to put into play what Andy's been teaching you this week. It didn't always work, and you did this wrong and that wrong, but you were trying to put into play. You know, so, you know, if a student is doing the right thing, you know, and I'll say to mine, I'm not judging you on your performances. I'm more interested in your understanding what we're teaching you, why, and how, and that you're trying to implement that. I says, I'm happy. If it doesn't work for you, you don't get a result, that's fine. That's not a problem. Go away and practice it and get it wrong and wrong and wrong until it works. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. But if the teacher is not giving the student the truth, you're giving them false hope. And then they're going to go out there and they're going to fail. And then they're not going to want to do this. So you're doing an injustice. And that's a great point to bring up, because that was something that I realized because for me, Paul, I was like, everybody could do medium. Everyone can be a medium. Come on. And everyone has a journey. Everyone has free will. And so that would determine your mediumship. It would determine where you belong. And I can't imagine the experiences and how you have grown in 30 years when I have only been doing this for 6. And I feel that I've grown. When I think back of how I was in the beginning teaching, I'm like, oh my God, Lillian.
Yeah, I mean, all what I teach because of what I've experienced as a developing newbie to this subject, to becoming working in my own right as a medium, into teaching. And I teach from my training that I received, and from watching the greats of the time of my period, like Gordon Higginson, but also from my experiences as well. And more often what I teach is from the things that have all gone wrong and the difficult things I've had to go through. I can remember when I started in my own right, Gordon Higginson turning around to me and saying, Paul, the real learning now begins. I said, what do you mean? I've just done 5 years in development. He says, that was the beginning. The real learning starts now in the real situation.
Yeah.
And, a lot of things I teach is because of what's happened out in the real situation where I've been working, So even now, I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I still learn from every demonstration I do.
Yes. It's like, oh my God, that was brilliant. Oh my God. Okay. Well, it's so humbling. It's amazing. And we were talking about the fact that this is not easy work.
No, you've got to be, you've got to be strong in many ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. If you're going to go about with rose-tinted glasses, you're going to become hyper and oversensitive to everything and everybody. You're not going to last 5 minutes. You've really got to be tough and strong to do this. I mean, even physically. I mean, I've been away. I can remember one time I was in Italy and I got a seminar to do, and I hadn't even got the energy to get out of bed. I had to fall out of bed, crawl on my hands and knees to get into the shower. I've had a dead to do, and your best friend's just died a few hours beforehand, and you're not in an emotional good state. But as Gordon Higginson used the words, rise above it. You've got to be able to rise above all that comes your way. Whether that's people, situations, events, your personal life, your tiredness, whatever. You've got to be strong. You really have.
Absolutely. And so the next question, and then we're going to talk about, which I'm so excited about you coming to Chicago, and you've made me very humble that you'll be sharing space with us here in Chicago, is some people ask, why should I take an intensive versus an 8-week class or 18-week class? What do I get out of an intensive? What is your view and your response to that based on your teachings and actually doing both, because you share the view of both?
Okay. I mean, one, yes. I mean, it just depends what you mean by intensive. I do what I call
or a seminar. So you call a seminar.
Yeah. So I might do, say, a seminar that's, whether it's a 3-day one, whether it's a 7-day one. I call it intensive practical mediumship. So it's very much focused on the practical element rather than the theoretical or looking at the spiritual development. So it's very intensive in the amount of practical work you have to do. So I don't do sort of like a lot of talking to hour after hour after hour. I will explain and explain what I'm going to teach. I also then do an example of what I'm going to teach before they do the practical exercise, but I don't, I'm not there for an hour and a half session, just talking away. So it's intensive in that way, you understand. For myself as well, to be intensive, it's normally when I have a smaller group. I like taking, smaller groups between 12 and 16 people most of the time. I do take some bigger groups in other situations, especially if it comes to demonstrating mediumship. Because if you're going to do demonstrating mediumship, then everybody's got to have that personal, individual attention and time. So, if you're going to a big seminar with 30, 40 people, that's on, or 60 people, that's just on, and you're going for demonstrating mediumship, you can only really learn the theoretical part about it and sit and listen, and maybe the odd one or two will get an opportunity. But with a smaller group, then we can make sure everybody gets that practical attention. But also, it's with the smaller groups, I say to my students, with some of you, or some people who can't come to me, who find it difficult to come to me, I said the reason why is because of the intensity and the individuality you get and tension you get, is because you're under the microscope. I'm watching and seeing, even on a one-to-one with the smaller groups, they have to do it in front of me to listen to. So they're under the microscope. So
scary, I still get nervous.
So they can't get away with anything and just come back and tell me they were all wonderful and they did everything well, I do like where I'm doing most of mine now. I do what I call progressive groups, where people sign up for so many weeks in a year. And again, I keep them to a smallish size, and nobody can join that group once it's begun. So you can keep progressing and moving forward. I think what students have got to do at a certain stage, this might put people off, might be losing students who want to book, is yes, you can learn something from every medium, and it's up to you to take from what they give what is right for you. But I think you've got to taste different teaching mediums of what they teach and what they give. But I think there has to come to a stage where you can start running around too many different media, too many different teachers whose teaching conflicts, and then you end up in a confused mess. So it's not for me to say which is the right way for a particular student. It's that up for that student to choose which teaching and style of that teaching medium is right for them. They've got to decide that. Then, so like what I say to my students is, doesn't mean you've got to just stay with me. Then I've got a team of teaching mediums who I've trained, who are Arthur Finley College tutors now, like Jose Goschor, Chris Drew, Andy Bing. And I'll say, if you go to a teacher, that teaches under the same umbrella. But I have so many students, I say, especially at the college, they'll come and I'll say, what you're doing is not good. And I'm talking about when I'm taking advanced students, and they'll say, yeah, but that's what we was told last time to do. And I said, well, all I can say is, for me, that's not good. So all I can say is try my way this week, go home, digest it, and then decide for yourself which way you think will enhance your mediumship. It's up to you then to decide and make up your mind. But also, some of the students who feel I'm like, some say I expect too much. I don't think I do. But if you look out there now, there's thousands of so-called mediums, and I say to them, do you want to be one of the thousands of so-called mediums? I said, what I'm trying to give you and do for you is try to move you to where you'll be that something a little bit more than the thousands. But that ain't going to be easy, and it might mean some tough training and being strong. But, if you want to do something, surely you want to do it well and to the best of your ability. If we look, mediumships come too loose. If, in England, the word's connection, in America, the word's reference. So they'll say, oh, there's a man here and there's a connection to a boat or a reference to a boat, and then throw it away. Well, if you throw it to an audience, somebody, a gentleman with a reference to a boat, lots of hands would go up. But if you asked all those people who put their hands up what the connection is, what the reference is, that's the evidence. And it's the same with relationships. People keep putting on, I've got a mother figure energy. Well, all you're doing is loosening it. So you're giving the audience or the recipient the permission to change it into a grandmother or something else. It's loosening it all. So, so be warned, students, if you're coming, I don't accept energies or figures on the end of a relationship, okay? And if you give the word reference or connection, I shall want to know what the reference is or the connection. That's for the more experienced
I'm excited. That's what we want. That's what I want. I know I'm excited. I teach and I do this for a living, and that's something that I feel that I can expand on and I can grow with, and we're always gonna grow. And it's interesting what you said, because that's how I ended up reaching out to you, because through studying with Mavis, I love that soul connection in my readings, and I really wanted to stay with that. And so that's why I said it would be wonderful. Andy's coming this month. You're coming in March of 2018. And I hope to bring you back every year to Chicago. So I'm very, very excited.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it.
I really am. So we are taking 30 students for our 4-day. Paul will be teaching amazing subjects on these 4 days. We also, he also decided to do a 2-day platform after the 4-day seminar. So on day 1, we are going to be having a lot of fun. It's something that I love, colors. I love to talk about colors. I work with them, but Paul's going to bring his knowledge and his experience, as well as things he's shared with, or Gordon Higgins has shared with him, but also how he has evolved into what he does with his colors as well, right?
That's right, yeah.
So we're going to be covering on day 1, color and the soul, assessment to colors, and soul, color, expression, and purpose. That is so amazing. So we can look at someone and really know their alignment to who they are.
That's right. Because if we look, people speak about the auric field. I call it the soul emanation. So as a medium, we look beyond the physical and we're looking at the soul emanation. And like from the spirit world, I think some people that don't fully understand the spirit people do not see us as physical beings. They see us as the light we are from our soul emanation, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and we're doing materially. And if you want to give a Bible quote, it says in the Bible, "You'll be known by your light," and that's what they're referring to.
I love it. It's so true. So that's day 1. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, I love the fact on how you talked about really complimenting the teachers that you work with. And this is something that I really, truly love. And the students, we make color water. And so they're going to have a lot of fun with this. On day 2, you're talking about soul-to-soul communication through the emotion, power, and the higher mind.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
That's right.
That's very powerful.
That's the basis to what we are and what we do as a medium, or should be doing, where too many people keep wanting to work from the conscious mind here. And also what we've got to look at is, if you think, all the spirit world, it's got to be the same vein that runs through all mediumship to make sense, but it's individualized by the makeup of us as a person. Yeah. So the base point of the communication is through the emotion. All right, through that power of the spirit, the fuel that makes it work. And it's the higher consciousness which belongs to the soul we're supposed to be working with, not the conscious mind here in our head. So unless we're working and blending with those 3 elements within the soul, we're not going to have that connection and that mediumistic exchange as we should.
And I mean, that's really big, because I think that...
Sorry to interrupt you. Can I just quickly add, just get this across for them?
Yeah.
Is that if as a medium you've got barriers on your emotions because you don't like people seeing them, or you've got barriers on your emotions because of past experiences, you're putting a barrier to the spirit world. And it's the same with your mind. If you've got a mind that's over analytical, maybe you've worked in a profession where you have to have this analytical mind, then you're going to analyse and dissect your information from the spirit world rather than communicating and expressing and destroying it. Or if you've got a personality that's got a mind that's like a butterfly that flits here, there and everywhere, then your communication from the spirit world is going to be very flaky and flitting here, there and everywhere with no hold and substance.
Wow. Can I put you in my pocket?
Yeah.
All right, so we go to day 3, unfolding the evidence and the story from clairvoyant imagery through the soul, which we kind of talked a little bit about that.
That's right. Yeah, so I mean, people get a clairvoyant image of an object or a scene, and they make one small sentence and throw it away. I can build a whole contact just off one clairvoyant image. And then this is where then we take it all, a story unfolds with it. And then also it becomes more specific rather than staying in the generic that we quite often hear. You know, it's like sometimes when we keep getting all these grandmothers who cooked in the kitchen with an apron, or the grandfathers who had trouble breathing, who like nature, who smoked.
Or in the garage with their tools.
But, you know, if we stay, even if those images are real, and it's what the spirit will bring in, if we stay with it and digest and unfold the story and the background story, it'll become deeper and more individualized.
Bring it alive. You know what?
Yeah.
I like to use the word, Paul, bring that memory alive. Bring it alive.
And it's got to be shown through you and expressed through you. You know, it's, you know, because as far as the audience is concerned, they're dead. They're not there. They've got to come alive through you as real personalities, real people.
I get the chills. Yeah. I want to get up and say, yeah. All right, brilliant. So day 4, we're going to be talking, and I love this. I never heard anyone say it the way you said it, is meeting the need, psychic or mediumistically.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, that's a good one.
Well, for important, because like you said, you're using the psychic part to get to the mediumship, right? So you have to understand how to meet the need of both, because maybe perhaps the need of the sitter, right, might be either or.
Mind you, sometimes the sitter doesn't really know what their need is. They actually, what they're coming for is their want, and there's a difference between a want and a need.
Sure.
We also have to look at that aspect, you know. But also, you know, so well, we have to realise that when you're working on a one-to-one in consultations, you know, no medium is 100% in touch with the spirit world, even when somebody's wanting just an evidential. So in every sitting will have a psychic and mediumistic element, but then depending on the need, should depend and decide what percentage is psychic, what percentage is mediumistic. Got it.
And that's so important. And I always say that, you know, whatever the sitter needs, they might need that emotional you know, message that might come in psychically, that, you know, is happening in their life, not just from the spirit world. I like that so much.
Just to give a little example, this was actually in a demonstration, not in a one-to-one. And right at the end of the demonstration, I said to this lady, I said, I must come to you. I said, I've been aware all evening that you're grieving, and I know you're grieving for a child you've lost to the spirit world. I said, but I don't have your but I wasn't aware mediumistically. And I said, I'm not aware of your child. I'm just aware from your soul that you've lost a child and you're grieving heavenly. So I could have easily pretended
that child was there with you.
Yeah, you know, I says, I know he's not been gone very long. In time he'll come. You'll get the evidence from him. Then a communicator did come, but he still wasn't the child, you know. But at least I was honest with her at the front, and you know, so you know, don't always know with some information whether it's come psychically or mediumistically, if I'm honest. I like to as much as possible, but we do have to accept there'll always be an element of the psychic. Gordon Ingenson said, no medium gives 100% from the spirit. He said, it's not possible. He said, 80% is very good. That's what you're aiming for. He said, because there'll always be a percentage of your own mind coming in and interpreting wrongly, and then the percentage you'll always pick up from the psychic once you start interacting with your recipient. And again, it's not a problem if we're honest about it.
Sure.
But if I said to a student that was only 80% from the spirit world, and the other 20% was psychic or media or your own mind, they'd get all upset. I'm quite happy if I'm 80%.
Yeah, it's true. It is so true. But I like that you're saying that, because I think even for me, I'm a very honest person, and I say like it is my journey and my, lessons and trials and tribulations that, I felt that if I went psychic in a mediumship reading, Paul, that I was doing something wrong.
No, as long as you're on about it, if at the end of the day, I've worked psychically and it should have been mediumistically, then and disappointed, then I'm honest about it, and I'm sorry, it just wasn't, it didn't happen, it wasn't possible, or I said, well, I'll try again for them, but we've got to realise we can't be everything to everybody all the time. Otherwise, I nearly destroyed myself, because I thought that's what I had to do. But I know it's not possible. It's not possible. I'm not going to be the right medium for every communicator in the spirit world, and I'm not going to be the right medium for every recipient. But also, it's important to set. On a one-to-one with, well, even in DEMS, is to set up the sitting correctly. I always explain to a sitter, beforehand. Also, I profess everything won't come from the spirit world. If I'm getting it psychically, I will tell you. With the spirit communicators, I tell them you may get one, or you may get several communicators. If you're wanting only one particular communicator, hopefully they will come, but I can't guarantee. If the first communicator comes is not the person you want, but you recognise you must go with it, otherwise you'll put a barrier to the one you're wanting coming. So you've got to prepare your sitter, of how it works, what to expect, and then it removes some of the barriers that can stop it from happening.
Just let it be natural. Let it be what it needs to be.
Yeah. True.
So the 4 day is going to be here in Chicago. I'll be putting out the registration link within the next couple of days for this class. It is limited to 30 students because Paul does want to give everyone, the attention that he normally gives a class. It is his first time here, so we're very excited about that. For the 2-day demonstration, that will follow the 4 days. So the demonstration, we're going to be working with platform, technique, style, and what else did you say, Paul? Technique, style, and
presentation.
And presentation.
Yeah.
So
but that's only going to be for 16 people, though.
That's only going to be for 16 people. So for those 2 days, we will only be taking 16. I'll be registering them for him. And so the dates are March 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th for the 4 day, followed by the platform demonstration for 16 people from the 19th to the 20th. Okay.
Great.
And Paul, what else do you have going on right now that you're going to be doing that people can know about and maybe come out and see you? Or
most of my things are progressive this year, so they've all begun and started. But I've got a one-off advanced demonstrating platform course, a 5-day one in Journey Within in New Jersey, and that's in October. So that will be limited to only 16 students too. If any of people are thinking of coming over to the Arthur Findlay College, got a week I've been running for over 20 years at the college in November. That's mediumship training and development. We've got a great team. I normally get about 30, 40 people from America come on
Nice.
that. We get a good crowd from Australia as well. But what some of the American and Australian students have asked me to do is to put on a course here at my centre in Germany, English speaking, so they can come here first for 5 days and then go on to the Arthur Findlay College, because it's only an hour's flight from here to the college. So I just want to do 2 weeks like that. Los Angeles, there's a couple of seminars there next year, so if anybody's interested, that's also possible. I do an international week here, as well, where it's people from all over the world who speak English. That's normally a 5-day seminar, and you get lovely food. You go, the food's provided from a partner at House of Spirits, who has the best Italian restaurant in the whole of Germany, and the food in the seminars provided from his restaurant. So that's good. And we have some nice social evenings together with the students and that as well. So,
I love it. So they can look you up on Facebook?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. I've got no room for friends requests. So they would have to, if they want to follow on Facebook, it's better to go to the page instead.
Okay, so your fan page.
Yeah, that would be the best, yeah.
Okay, very
Don't
good.
ask me what the name is.
They can, once they pull up your name, they can see it. So he has a fan page, guys. He posts everything on there. And if you are close to the Chicagoland area or in the Chicagoland area, again, be looking out for the registration. We're very humbled to have him in Chicago, Paul. We really, truly are. I am blessed and excited. You and I will be taking the platform. We'll have the honor of taking the platform with you, along with Mark Troy.
Yes, yeah, that's great. Yeah, because I've known of you, Mark, for some time, and Mark's gets in touch occasionally as well. So it'd be nice to work with you and also to see your work as well. Looking forward to that.
I'm excited and nervous. I always get nervous.
Well, Gordon used to say to me, are you nervous? I used to say, yes. He'd say, good.
Okay, good. Because I get so nervous. Like before I went on with Mavis, I'm like, oh my God, and I'm going on with Andy next week, and I'm so nervous already. But I know it's because I do care genuinely to do the right thing for the spirit world and for the people that come to be with us at that moment. So
when I first started going out on the platform, I mean, my first 6 demonstrations publicly was alongside Gordon Higginson.
Oh.
So my audiences were audiences of hundreds of people, not just 20, 30 or 40 people. And then when it come to going out away from him and not just with him, he said to me, Paul, never go on a platform at this stage with anybody lesser than yourself. He said, only go on with somebody who's something more. And I said, why? He says, because it will help and make you rise to that level.
Oh, I got the chills. Oh, you're gonna make me cry. I appreciate you having trust in me, Paul. I do. I really do. I'm just a mom. I'm just a woman. I'm just a wife. But I love what I do. And
can I say something to you? You just saying about being a mom and a wife, even though you're not in the same age as the people I'm going to refer to. I was speaking to some students about 3 of my favourite mediums who always worked alongside Gordon Higginson in the early days at the college. That was a lady called Mary Duffy, Margaret Pearson and Betty Wakely. And I say to the students, they were all just ordinary, everyday, housewifey ladies. But their mediumistic ability was something absolutely wonderful.
No. Oh, hi, Mark. Mark is here, and you have a couple of students here.
Hi, Mark.
Everybody's saying hello to you. You have a Trevor. He said he's.
Yes.
You have Trevor, we have Rose Full Horse, Vicky. They're all planning to take your class when you come in March. We have Maggie. So hello, everybody, and anybody that I didn't.
Hi, everyone.
to speak of. We're very excited that you shared this time with us, Mark. We're very excited to have you on platform with us. You are a brilliant medium, and I cannot wait to share the space with you. So, Paul, thank you so very much. I'll be getting things rolling for us now. And
appreciate all what you're doing for us. You know, because it's not just mediums, it's this other work you're doing. The Spirit will need people like you as well. Otherwise, people like me cannot do our work, you know, for them.
I still want to get you to do some seminar online eventually, sometime. You're like, no,
as I said, I'm a dinosaur with the internet. And the
I got you, Paul. I got you. Thank you.
Even when I do my account work, I still use an old abacus. I don't use.
Well, this is why I'm here for you now. Now I'll set everything up, and whenever you're ready, you say, Lillian, I'm ready. And my online following, I'm sure, will be waiting for that, because I have a following, and I really like to bring people to them. So whenever you're ready, you let me know. I'll record. I'll do everything. All you got to do is join.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Lillian. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the honor and the privilege of this interview. And I look forward to speaking to you as time comes close. Everybody be looking out for the link, because, again, we're limited to 30 students, and I already have more than 30 people in the email. So as soon as the link goes out, be looking out for it. If you're supposed to take the class, like Paul said, you'll be guided to the class.
There's only 16 for the demonstrating one.
And only 16, yeah.
Because I have to see everybody work individually, so we can't take more than 16 for them.
So there'll only be 16 for the 2-day platform. So thank you, Paul, so much.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Lots of love.
Bye for now. Bye, everyone.